Hello, world. Welcome to episode 181 of the Jimmy Canz Show. It is a classic supercard retrospective. We are going to take a look back at the 1992 WWF Survivor Series. Um, Obviously, this was a WWF event. It was held on November the 25th, 1992, from the Coliseum in suburban Cleveland town of Richfield, Ohio, around 17,500 in attendance, including yours truly. Yes, I was actually at this show. I was a freshman in high school at the time. Went with one of my best friends and his father. It was my second ever WWF event that I attended, first ever pay per view that I attended. So, like I said, it was broadcast live on pay per view, later released on VHS, courtesy of Coliseum Video. It's the first Survivor Series that didn't focus on the elimination tag matches for the bulk of the card. In the previous year, we did finally have a non-Survivor Series match on Survivor Series, but this particular Survivor Series show, the majority of the card is in around that elimination tag concept. Um, the action was called by Vince McMahon, Bobby the Brain Heenan. We have a nightstick match and the first ever casket match as well. Um, uh, you know, classic contest as well between the Hitman and HBK, one of their first singles clashes. So let's get into it here. The opening contest of the pay per view was a tag team contest involving the team of High Energy, which was the Rocket Owen Hart and the Birdman Coco Beware, who had Frankie, taking on the Head Shrinkers, Samu and Fatu, with Afa in their corner. Um, the truly more established team here is the Head Shrinkers. They were formerly the Samoan SWAT team in the NWA/WCW. Owen and Coco haven't been teaming together that long. There's more tag team chemistry between the Shrinkers. They end up getting the win in this one. The tag team between Coco and Owen didn't last very long. So Next up, you had the nightstick on a pole match. I mean, yeah, we had something on a pole match, and Vince Russo wasn't even booking back then. This one involved the Big Boss Man and Nails. Uh, this one pretty much ends Nails' tenure with the company. Boss Man does go over here. Nails, I do believe, was let go within a month or so after this. And discuss that a little bit more in my wrap up. But yeah, this is kind of the swan song for Nails. Um, Next up, you got old Buffalo Boy himself, Tatanka, taking on Rick the Model Martel. There's more drama around the sacred Indian feathers um, and everything. Tatanka does go over, get the victory here, continuing the undefeated streak that they were, um, you know, working on with him. In theory, great concept. I don't think ultimately it does ends up not paying off. For as long as it was, but I digress. Next up, you have the team of the Ultimate Maniacs, the Ultimate Warrior, and the Macho Man Randy Savage taking on the duo of the Nature Boy Ric Flair and the bad guy Razor Ramon. Yeah, not so fast. This is Survivor Series, so we know what that means. It wouldn't be Survivor Series if they didn't make a change to the originally announced card. So, see what happened here actually was Warrior was let go about 2 weeks before Survivor Series. He was caught purchasing HGH. This was around the time frame where the steroid trial was really going on. They had to distance themselves from anything remotely related to it. So Warrior was out. We end up getting the team Perfect Madness. That was Macho Man Randy Savage teaming with a returning to action Mr. Perfect to take on Flair and Ramon. Obviously, with this, being Perfect's big return to the ring after a little over a year's absence from competing, the baby faces go over in this one. So Savage and Perfect get the win here. Next up, the recently debuted Yokozuna with Mr. Fuji taking on Virgil. This was a total squash match, and I mean that literally. Yoko going over with a Banzai drop and them having to scrape Virgil off the canvas with a spatula. Yoko sometimes was a little, let's just say, stiff with those bonsai drops. Sometimes he didn't always get his legs under him exactly and came down pretty hard. This was one of those cases. Poor Virgil. Anyway, next up, we have a quote unquote traditional Survivor Series match. I use that term loosely here. You had the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs, Jerry Sags, along with the natural disasters Typhoon Earthquake, facing the Beverly Brothers, Bo and Blake, with the Genius, the tag team champions, the $1 Million Man, Teddy Biasi, and IRS, Money Incorporated, the Mouth of the South out there with them. Now, the reason I say that this isn't like a real Survivor Series matchup is they kind of modified the rules here. It is an elimination style match. However, it was, one member of a team is eliminated, both members of the team are eliminated. So you really only need two decisions to win this matchup rather than four. So kind of Survivor Series-ish, kind of not. The two babyface duos here end up getting the victory in this one. So next up was a coffin match. Yeah, I say coffin match. Really, it's the first ever casket match. I mean, this is just semantics in terms of nomenclature, slight variation in terms of the rules from what we got to know as coffin matches. Like here, it's the Undertaker versus Kamala. Undertaker with Paul Bearer, Kamala out there with Kemchi, and uh, Dr. Harvey Whippleman, I believe, still at the time was out there with Kamala. Um, but what it was is like you still had to pin your opponent, but then the loser was then put into and sealed into the coffin. So, um, not you didn't have to put the individual in the coffin to win the match. The winner of the match got to put the loser into the coffin. So a little variation on the rules, but essentially it's our first ever casket match. Taker obviously gets the win here. Not a real big shock. And then our main event for the WWF Championship, you have your champion for the Hitman Hart taking on Intercontinental Champion, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. So, only the WWF title is on the line here. Now, you see, since SummerSlam, Bret has captured the WWF title from Flair. He did so at a Coliseum videotaping in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Shawn captured the IC title from Davey Boy about 2 weeks prior to Survivor Series on an episode of Saturday Night's Main Event. But when Shawn captured it, it was after the match with Bret was already signed. So that was their rationale for only one title being on the line. Originally planned for this card, I don't think it was ever announced, but originally planned for this card, it was supposed to be Davey Boy defending the IC title against the Mountie. But like Warrior, Davey was let go because he was also caught purchasing the HGH. So they flipped the title, put it on Shawn, and then Shawn already had the match with Bret, so that eliminated any IC title match on this show, and you had a champion versus champion matchup. Again, not title for title, but champion versus champion. This one was a clinic, obviously. What else would you expect from these two? Bret does get the win and retain here with a sharpshooter, and this was also the first Survivor Series that saw Santa Claus come out to celebrate with the winner at the end. So in terms of Hall of Fame involvement on the show, we've got 17. We got Jimmy Hart, Hitman, Perfect, Alpha, Fuji, Flair, Coco, DiBiase, Yoko, HBK, Bear, Razor, Rikishi, Savage, Bossman, Taker, Mike Rotundo. And then if you put, interviewers and commentary and announcers and all that other stuff into the mix here, you add Keenan, Okerlund, Lord Alfred Hayes, Howard Finkel. That's 21 actually in total. So a lot of Hall of Fame involvement here. Like I said, this was a good Survivor Series. Every match, except for one, had some type of story to it, reason for it taking place more or less. Just the opening tag didn't have any real story. It was just, a good tag team matchup between two teams. Boss Man and Nails closed out their feud. Like I said, Nails was fired weeks later, actually for choking Vince over a pay dispute backstage. He was let go. Not surprising there. Tatanka, Martel furthered their story. They were still going, feuding over those sacred eagle feathers. That kind of, was still going on there. So there's story there. Um, Savage Flair saga basically drew, you know, came to an end here with this match. And it kind of set up Perfect and Flair to close out the year. It was kind of known at this point that Flair was going to be heading back to Turnerland, and he and Perfect would have a little go around through up to the end of the year to wrap up Flair's time uh, in the WWF at the time. He was kind of jobbed out to Perfect on his way out the door, more or less, um, and then ended up losing a loser leave WWF match. So, Virgil Yoko, looks at, while there was no real story between the two of them, that was, the story really was getting Yokozuna over as this monster. Mission accomplished. Uh, the elimination tag uh, was kind of centered around the tag title picture without having the title match. So you furthered along that story there with the Disasters, who were kind of chasing Money Inc. at the time. Uh, Taker Kamala closed out their feud, gave us a new gimmick match, and it kicked off the uh, Hart Michaels rivalry, that would go on for almost, the next 5 years. So, I will say, out of 10 belts, I'd give this a solid 8. The knock on it, the odd elimination tag, um, you know, everything that mattered. Um, Really, it was all kind of babyface wins. Also, in terms of the matchups, just the opening tag had a heel win, and Yokozuna was a heel win. Other than that, all your baby faces kind of went over. So little lack of variety there. Um, but I think it would have made more sense maybe the quote unquote actual Survivor Series match, having Money Inc. go over there as your champions would have made a little more sense. Maybe underhandedly, kind of helps spur things along a little bit more. But anyway, yeah, 8 out of 10, pretty solid show. Next up on classic retrospectives, we will probably take a look at the 1992 Starrcade Battle Bowl. So, looking forward to talking about that one. Like I said, I love the Battle Bowl concept. I really wish they'd bring it back. Brought this up before in the past, but it bears repeating. So, there you have that. Wherever you are, hope you're doing well. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a subscribe. Take care of one another. See you when I see you.